I literally just finished round 2 of the Olympiad and I came running back to my hotel. Well, I took a bus, which took like an hour. But I got back to my hotel, I sat down in front of the laptop, and I'm here now to tell you how round 2 of the Olympiad went for me. So I'm playing for Sweden, if you don't know, and today we played against the team of Lebanon. So I played against Danielle Bedrosian, and she was rated around 1660 to be exact. And guys, right before this video, I just had the craziest realization. I realized that where it asked for my name, it says white and black. When it asked for my name, I literally put the wrong name. I put someone else's name. I put the number 4 of their team's name, and I didn't even put mine. Guys, who even put someone else's name when they ask for your name? I do not know. I do not know. But yes, that's how well my brain was working before I started playing an Olympic game today. I spent an hour preparing before this game, and I prepared one line. I prepared one line for 1 hour. That was everything that I prepared. And guys, she played exactly what I had prepared. Like, this hasn't happened to me in a very long time. For the first 12 moves of this game, she was literally playing what, I had been looking at before the game. So, I'm going to show you, she played b3, and I knew that, she typically does play b3. Like, nowadays it seems like she doesn't really play anything else. I went d5. I typically go for e5, but I decided to go for d5 because I don't really have any good results with e5, and I had prepared this. So she went bishop b2. The idea of going b3 is that you're basically keeping the center quite flexible. So you're not really choosing what pawn you're gonna go with. You're just kind of keeping the center flexible, and you're putting the bishop on a really good diagonal. So it's also kind of limiting a little bit, black's ability to go forward, to bring out this bishop, etc. So, I mean, you're just developing a bishop very early on. So I went knight f6 here just to defend the pawn. And now she went g3, and like I said, I was expecting this too. She likes fianchettoing her bishops. She really likes fianchettoing her bishops. c5. And the idea of this is just to keep a little bit more of control of the center. I want to go knight c6, but I don't want to go whilst I'm blocking my c-pawn, because then it's going to be really hard to push it. So I'm pushing it first, and then I'm going out with my knight. So bishop g2, developing the bishop. Now knight c6, just to develop the knight. And she went here d3. So she cannot really push anymore with her pawn, so she kind of needs to... I'm going to get more space in the center. She's going to have to go d3, e3, and then maybe at some point prepare some sort of pawn break, maybe with c4 later on. So I went e5. I was just trying to take as much center as possible. I'm controlling all these squares in the center, so I have a lot of space. She went e3. I went bishop e7 to develop. She went knight d2. This is still preparation. Bishop e6. I went here just to defend the pawn. I mean, I saw that some of her opponents in the past had gotten bishop g4, but I didn't like it because she then gets to develop knight e2, like, just for free. And she's soon gonna go h3, g4, so h3, bishop e6, g4, and then she's gonna create a kingside attack. And I didn't really like that. So I decided to just go bishop e6. This was all part of my preparation. Knight e2, and now I went d4. So the idea of going d4 is basically that I'm just kind of locking in the center. So I am locking in her bishop here, and now I'm gonna get a lot of space. It's gonna be hard for her to go c4, c3, because then this pawn is always gonna be weak. And this bishop is now blocked by her own pawn. So if, for instance, she would take here, then this would be a mistake, because then this c-file would be really good, and I would have an amazing endgame with like rook c8. I'd have ideas of going knight d5, maybe, knight b4. I mean, there would be so many weaknesses, and the issue here is that, once again, c3 or c4 is not possible, because I can just take, and then this pawn becomes a really big weakness. So this would just keep this pawn. It would just be a backwards pawn. It would be really bad. So e4, and now queen d7. What I'm trying here with queen d7 is that if she castles, I want to be able to go bishop h3 later on. But actually, my preparation was that if she castled here, I wanted to go h5, to then go h4, bishop h3, and then castle queenside. So this is what I had prepared. So she went h3 just so that I couldn't go there. Now the issue of going h3 is of course that it's gonna take her a little bit longer to castle, because if she castles, the rook stops defending the pawn, so I can just take the pawn. So I went long castling, and this move I had prepared as well. The idea of going long castles is just that I'm gonna go all in on a kingside attack. So my next move, if she does something random, is to go g5. And that is to stop f4. f4 is her best move right now, just to try to counter the center. And that's what she did. She did f4. But I saw that in previous games she had gone a3, and then I would have gone g5 to stop f4. And then after this, I would have gone h5 and just kind of, tried to attack on the king side. So it's gonna be pretty, I mean, I guess here she has to castle queen side, but I mean, her queen side is not super safe either, and it's gonna take her a while to do that, as all of her pieces are surrounding the king. So yeah, so she has to go f4. Here I went pawn takes f4, and I mean, I had all this prepared. At this point, I still had 1 hour, 29 minutes and 30 seconds left. She had like 35 minutes. She had been thinking a lot. She went knight takes f4, but I had prepared. If she went g takes f4, there's this move knight h5. And it looks like white is actually like trapping the bishop, but white is actually not trapping the bishop. This is very nice, guys. If f5 here, there would have been takes, and if she takes back, bishop h4 check. Only move here is to go king f1, and then queen takes f5 check. If king g1, then there's this is ultra winning after bishop f2 check, king h2, queen e5 is going to be a checkmate. So she couldn't do that, and if at this point, something like knight e5 is played, then I just have knight e5, and if this knight goes somewhere, because that's the only way that you can protect this knight. I'm attacking this knight with 2 pieces. Then I'm going to be having knight g3, so knight g3 check, and I'm going to be taking the rook. So guys, this was just like amazing, and I was hoping that she would go for this, but she took with the knight. And when she took with the knight, I had already looked at this. So queen c7, the idea of going queen c7 is that after knight takes e6, there is queen takes g3 check. So white loses a pawn if they take here. So here the best move for white is to go queen f3, just to protect this pawn and to castle queenside after this. But then I would have gone g5, and then after something like knight takes e6, pawn takes e6, and castles, I have rook f8. So let's say that I go with this rook h f8. This is just an amazing position, because she's probably gonna have to go queen e2 to get out of this file, and then I'm gonna have queen takes g3, and I'll be winning this pawn. So this is just an amazing position, but probably at this point, that's the best thing that she can do. She's already gone wrong here. I mean, I guess also, she could also have castled, but after something like g5, I mean, this is a really, really, really bad position. The king is going to be very weak, and h5 is coming. This pawn is very weak. I even have bishop d6, looking towards this pawn at some point. So I think that this would just have been really good. So she went knight f3, just because she wanted to stop me from going g5. And in this position, I said, okay, if you're stopping me from going g5, let me attack the same thing. So that's why I went h6 here. And this actually, I was pretty happy, because this is actually the best engine move. Which, I mean, until here, like, all of the moves have been pretty much best engine move, because I had prepared all of these moves, but knight f3 was the first move that I had not prepared. So knight f3 caught me by surprise. I had prepared queen f3, so my preparation went all the way until here. At this point, I had 1 hour and 29 minutes, and she had 35 minutes or 30 minutes or something. She had spent an hour. I literally had like an hour more than her at this point in my clock. So this was the very, very, very first move that, I hadn't prepared. So after knight f3, I actually took like 15 minutes, because I wanted to think about the position. Like, in a way, I felt like I didn't deserve to have such a good position, because I had just memorized all of this. So I was sitting there feeling a bit guilty. Is this like super weird? And so because I hadn't been thinking before of this, I had just been like walking around the playing hall. I actually wanted to take some time to actually think through the position and see, okay, what is actually happening in this position? I just knew that this was good for me. Like, I knew this was like -1 point something for me. And now that this knight is on f3, the queen cannot get to f3 either. So it's actually, the knight is actually taking up this really important square for the queen. And at this position, I realized that if she ever tries to go queen d2, well, she's going to be in the same diagonal as her king, and that is not really something she wants to. So I was just wondering, how is she going to castle queenside? Because there's no way she can castle kingside. It's going to be way too dangerous with these pawns like this. So I was just those were my plans. So in this position, I ended up going h6 to threaten g5 again. I wanted to threaten this move again, and now we basically have the same position as before, where I'm threatening g5. But now queen f3 is not possible because she put her knight on f3. Now, in this position, I was actually analyzing one more move, and that move was c4. And the idea of going c4 was that I wanted to go g5, right? And so I thought if b takes c4, I have g5 in this position. And knight takes is not possible because I have queen a5 check, and then I'm winning the knight. So I was looking at this, but I ended up not doing this move because I realized that here now she would have knight d5, and I realized that this pawn on c4 was actually going to become very strong, and this knight on d5 was going to become really strong. So I didn't do it because of that, but I was actually analyzing c4 already here. But I went h6, and now she went queen d2, and when she went queen d2, I just immediately knew that there has to be tactics here, because I immediately saw that the queen and the king are on the same diagonal, and I have a dark squared bishop, so there's probably something that I can do here. So I wanted to get my bishop to this diagonal, and I saw that there were some tactics here. So guys, if you haven't seen the game, if you want to pause the video right now and just take a few seconds to figure out, the winning move here, because there is actually a winning move, then you can go ahead and do that. But the move, spoilers, the move that I did, which is the best one here, is c4. I am sacrificing a pawn, as both, the b pawn and the d pawn can take on c4. I am sacrificing a pawn, but what I'm gaining in exchange is a lot of piece activity, and there are some immediate tactics. My bishop is getting to b4 immediately. So at this point, I thought that she would go queen f2. I think that queen f2 is the best move here. Just because, if she doesn't go with her queen anywhere, then bishop b4 is coming. So I was thinking that she would have to go queen f2. And then here I was thinking, I wasn't entirely sure about what I was going to do, but I was thinking of going queen a5 check. And I wanted to do this in this move, where I'm going to tell you why. I wanted to go queen a5 check, king f1 probably has to happen, and then c3. And now, because at this point, this bishop is completely trapped. After I go g5, knight e2 is pretty much the only move, because if you take here, I'll take back, and then a rook is coming to the f-file. So knight e2 is the only move. This bishop is completely useless. It's almost as I'm a piece up. This bishop cannot do anything. The bishop cannot go to a single square in this position, and what's worse is that it's also blocking the rook. So it's not just that white is now almost a piece down, it's that the rook is also trapped. So all endgames are going to be completely winning for me. Also with this pawn structure, it's going to be very easy at some point to sacrifice something on c2, and because my pawn is so far up, pretty much most endgames are going to be winning for me. So I already knew this, so this is my plan. And what I want to tell you is that the reason I wanted to go queen a5 check then was because if I went c3 first, then there was going to be bishop c1, and then white would be able to castle. And it's better to have white not be able to castle than to be able to castle. This position is still amazing for black because this bishop is, useless once again. But I just wanted to make sure that white couldn't castle. But this is what I was analyzing during the game, but she did not go queen f2. Instead, after c4, she went b takes c4. Now, I had already calculated this, but still, when you're about to sacrifice a piece, you get a little bit scared, right? You need to take a moment. So I actually took here 10 minutes just because, or 5 minutes, because I really wanted to make sure that everything in my brain was actually working. So I went bishop b4, and now I'm pinning the queen. The only move to stop the pin is to go c3. But now this rook on d8 comes to be very useful. I take on c3. Bishop takes is the only move, otherwise I'll be, winning a lot of material. So bishop takes c3. And now this rook comes very handy because I have knight takes e4. Pawn takes e4 is not possible. Well, it is possible because it is what happened in the game. But the queen is hanging then. So pawn takes e4, and I'm winning the queen. Now, if she doesn't take my knight, if she does something else, if she moves with the queen somewhere, well, then I'm just going to be taking on c3, and then I'll be taking on a1, and everything is just falling apart at this point. So I'll just be winning a million pieces. So the best thing for her is to sacrifice the queen, so that at least she gets a rook and a bishop for the queen, or a rook and a knight for the queen. So this was the game. I took the queen, bishop takes, knight takes. She wanted to take with the knight because otherwise she can't castle. But I realized quickly when we had this position that, okay, I'm up in material, but if she's able to regroup her pieces, this is not so clear. I mean, rook and knight versus queen, obviously the queen is better, but still, we're not talking about a huge material difference. It's not like I'm a rook up or something. So I still need to play, like, I mean, play my best. I felt like I couldn't just like completely relax here. So my goal in this position became to stop her from castling. If she castled, well, I knew I was still gonna, have a great position, but then her king would be in safety. I wanted to attack the king. So I decided to make my goal right now to just stop her from castling. So what I did was that I went g5 because I wanted to do it now as my queen was still in c7, as the knight needs to go somewhere where like it's defending this pawn, because now in this position, if knight takes e6, I'm just able to take this pawn with check, and then I'm able to take the knight. So I wanted to go for this move now. So she went here knight a5. And I think knight e2 is a bit better, trying to keep as many pieces in close to the king as possible, but maybe she wanted to have the king, have this escape square or something, and I guess she maybe wanted to try to reroute her pieces to some better squares. So she went knight h5 to defend the pawn, and now I just wanted to stop her from castling. So I went queen a5, because here I'm pinning the knight cannot move, and the king cannot move. Really, the king cannot castle because then I'm winning the knight. So she went here, knight f6. And here, well, I knew that if she went to this diagonal, I saw that I had queen c3 or queen e5. I'm attacking both pieces, and if castles, I can just take the knight. And so here she went rook d1. I went here, I could have taken the knight. But guys, okay, I just thought this was nicer. So I went queen takes g3 check. And actually, this wasn't the best move. The best move in this position is actually to go bishop takes c4, because I'm threatening just the checkmate in one. And this is actually now going to be a checkmate. The best move for white is to go rook c1. I mean, imagine giving the rook and everything. So actually, I didn't do the best move, but okay, my move was the second to best, and taking here is the third best. But I went queen takes g3 just because I thought it was nicer. I'm winning a pawn. The king needs to go to f1, and then I have queen f4 check, and now I'm gonna be able to win the knight. But I will also have gotten that extra pawn, and most importantly, I will have stopped her from castling, which was everything I wanted in that position. So yeah, so at this point she actually resigned. My opponent resigned, and I won. So this was pretty great. I hope you guys enjoyed the game. Half of the game was preparation, but I'm still pretty happy about the fact that I found h6 and c4. I think those were some important moments. And yeah, I hope that you guys enjoyed the game. My mom actually won today very quickly. I'm not entirely sure how many moves it was, but I think she won in like 9-10 moves. She won like very, very, very quickly. So that was pretty crazy. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed the recap of round 2 of the Olympiad. I'll be back tomorrow with the recap of round 3. If you are enjoying these recaps, please tell me in the comments down below, because it makes me very happy when you guys comment, and I try to read all comments, and yeah, just like and subscribe as well. Helps out a lot. Take lots of care, people. I'll see you at the next recap. Goodbye.